Welcome back, YouTube. This is Evil Squeegee. I am playing Dungeon World solo today in DMPC, where I am both the DM and the PC. Today, we are picking up where we left off last. In our last episode, we were exploring this dungeon here. Look at this expansive dungeon. We got a lot done. We're using Perilous Wilds to explore this dungeon. All these collapses and the frozen waters and the places we haven't been yet. When we were last here, we were sent by the church to investigate why they were not hearing from their mining team. And when we got here, the mining team had been trapped inside of the mines in a collapse, and so we volunteered to go find them. The miners had been trapped in a collapse of the mines, and we are inside this maze hunting for them to try and rescue them and free them. And when we entered the maze, we were confronted by the avatar of Moen, the goddess of night, the goddess that is being worshipped by the cult that we oppose as our paladin's rival nemesis cult. And I think that's where we left off. Was we were just about to encounter this ghost. So we're gonna do what we do best. We're gonna make it up as we go along, and we're gonna find out what the dice tell us. So let's get this party started. So when we last left off, we were sticking to the left of each intersection and heading as left as we could. We had picked up the Sunblade, and we were about to charge into combat with this ghost. This ghost right here. I don't know if it was going to be combat, so let's find out. I believe our chaos factor was 6. So is this ghost hostile? 50-50. 73. No, the ghost is not hostile. It is occupied doing something. It is occupied doing something else. Probably meandering. You know, it's in a mine. It's probably mining. I would say that this ghost is trapped in a loop of hitting the wall with an ice pick. With a mining pick, which is not an ice pick at all, and kind of just repeatedly checking and then stopping and wiping its brow and then going back at it. So we are going to try and sneak past this ghost and try and get past it without having to enrage it or something. What am I doing? Unnatural dice. Disadvantage from Tice. Of course. Disadvantage from Tice, I roll twice and take the lower of the 2. My dexterity is +1. I rolled 7 on both counts, so that means that I am rolling an 8. So on an 8 with Defy Danger, I get a hard choice. Either the ghost notices me, or I have to burn something. No, I have to, in order to get past the ghost without being noticed, we have to douse our torch, which means that we're down 1 adventuring gear. So we are going to do that. And then we're going to, you know what I didn't do? I didn't open up Perilous Wilds. We are plumbing the depths and finding out what comes next. It's a 10. A 10 is a unique and a danger. Which unique is it that we roll? Let's find out. Go to the notes page and roll a d12. 3. 1 to 3. We found the collapse. Excellent. So let's draw the collapse here. So we come into this chamber and there's this huge wall of rubble and we can hear the muffled sound of voices coming from the other side of the collapsed rubble wall of like stones and boulders and all kinds of stuff. We don't know how long they've been trapped here. So what have they been trapped here long? Let's find out. 50-50. 44. The answer is yes, they have been trapped here for a while, and we get a random event. All right, so what is our random event focus? 58. Move away from a thread. Which thread are we moving away from? Rolling on this list of 1d4, 3 to 4, 5. I get to choose which thread, and I'm going to say that something comes up between us and rescuing the miners. Some obstacle that we need to overcome. We'll say that this rubble wall here is very... actually, before I do that, let's roll on the meaning tables for actions, because it's supposed to be a random event. I want to make certain that I am doing this correctly. Event meaning, action 1 and action 2. Let's roll. Action 1, 50. Action 2, 5. 50. Hinder attention. Okay, yeah, that suits with what I was about to say. It jives. It clicks. It makes the sense. It does this with my hands. Okay, enough playing with my hands. The rubble wall is so delicate that if we go about this the wrong way, it's going to collapse in and fall on the miners themselves, which is why the miners haven't dug their way out, because you'd think a bunch of people with a bunch of digging equipment will be able to dig their way out of a situation. But no, it's too dangerous. And so as we approach, we hear the muffled sound of a couple of the miners' voices, and we kind of walk up and say hello. And the miners, we can't make out what they're saying through the wall, but they know that we're here, and there's some kind of loose communication. And we're gonna do here what I call what is called a detail check. Detail checks are from Mythic Variations 2, which is an expansion to the Mythic system from first edition. It's compatible with second edition. And the detail check is there to answer the question of, like, what are they wearing, or what kind of car is it, or etc. Some non yes or no questions that you have to fill out details. And I want to find out, like, what kind of communication the miners are offering us. And so what we do is we throw 2d10. We've got 13. Our chaos factor is 6, so we subtract 2. 13 minus 2 is 11. And the answer is focus PC. Which PC? Odds, evens, odds Octavia, evens Christina. So we'll say that the miners are roughly looking for someone to help them dig out from this side of the wall instead of that side of the wall because of how dangerous it is. And, well, we're here to do what we're here to do. So I guess there's only one thing to do about it, and that is unnatural dice. Disadvantage from Tice. And disadvantage from Tice. This is bend bars and lift gates based on strength. Oh no! Even with the plus from strength, that's a 3. I get to mark XP for Christina. She's at 10 out of 8. She's still level 1. We haven't rested. So Christina goes to start moving rubble and rocks out of the way. And she triggers a collapse, and the collapse starts to spill in on the miners. Do the miners manage to get out of the way in time? I'm going to call this likely. A 57 is on a likely. Chaos rank 6 is 75 or lower is a yes. So the collapse is now tighter. like that, and we've got our miners in here. And so the miners dive back out of the way as the collapse fills in half the space. And Christina kind of like stops and looks over at Octavia, and Octavia looks at Christina, and they shrug because what else are they supposed to do? And so they call out, "What are we supposed to do?" And we throw another detail check to find out. A 10 minus 2 is 8. Disfavors PC. Not that, the miners call out. Which means that the miners don't want us to use bend bars and lift gates. Which leaves us at a loss. I am personally stumped at what to do now. Other than disregard commoners, miners, and bend bars, lift gates is the only option that I think I see. You know what? Octavia is going to help this time. So Octavia is going to help or aid and roll plus bond. She has 1 bond with with Christina. So this is unnatural dice, disadvantage from Tice. A 10 or a 9 with plus 1 as 10, which means that Octavia will be giving a plus 1 forward to the bend bars. Octavia will be giving the plus 1 forward to the bend bars and lift gates roll that Christina is going to make, and we know that Tice is about to disadvantage this roll as well. So let's roll twice and hope for the best. Plus 3, 10 plus 10 forward. Yes! Even with disadvantage from Tice. Okay. So to rewind and kind of go through the situation, the scenario we're in, Octavia and Christina progress past the ghost and kind of communicate a little bit with the miners on the other side of this big collapsed wall that they've encountered. And Christina starts to heave rocks and move them out of the way because she's the stronger of the two characters. But as she does so, she triggers a collapse and it fills in half the space that the miners had to occupy. And the miners are diving out of the way and shouting and causing chaos. And so Christina calls out, "What are we supposed to do?" And the miners are saying, "Not that." So Christina just goes at it again, this time being a little more careful, and this time with Octavia helping her. And between the two of them, they are able to create a small doorway in this wall. At the top of the wall, they're able to get some rocks pulled away that let the miners climb out. Which means that our list of rescue the miners, our threads list, we can delete that thread. Which leaves us with banish the cult, discover my history, banish the cult, discover my history, and cleanse the curse. So we need to... Are there any threats along the way through this dungeon map? Well, we gotta get past the ghost. But I think we've just got to get past the ghost and that's it. So Octavia is going to try leading this group of innocent miners past this ghost. Unnatural dice. There are no unnatural dice right now. Excellent. 5 plus 1 is 6 equals a failure. Oh no, the ghost is enraged by the presence of the miners. This is Octavia. Octavia's XP is 11 out of 10. When we get out of here, we are leveling up so hard. As Octavia starts to, like, she douses her torch and kind of calls out to the miners, "Just follow the sound of my footsteps and be very careful not to enrage this ghost." And kind of starts to sneak past this ghost, which is just sitting there mining away. As Octavia sneaks by just fine, Christina sneaks by just fine, but these cultists, these miners that are following Octavia are not so lucky. And the ghost will turn, and the ghost will screech, and Octavia will bust out her sunblade and come diving in and attacking this ghost with a hack and slash at +2, and fail miserably, but she gets the ghost's attention, and the ghost spins around and kind of like lurches and tries to lurch into Octavia and tries to possess Octavia. And Octavia will try and fight this ghost off with a charisma check. This is also +2. 7 plus 2 is 9. She has to drop her sword. She has to drop her sunblade and her sunblade hits the ground with a rattle at her feet as she throws her hands up onto her head and starts like rocking back and forth and screaming no, 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 as this ghost is trying to possess her. And eventually she will force her own force of will and her own personality to take precedence over the ghost's, and the ghost will be ejected from her. But she's dropped her weapon, so Christina doesn't have anything that can hurt a ghost. So Christina's going to spend this time trying to usher the miners past the ghost that Octavia is locked in combat with. Christina will escort these innocents past this ghost. Christina needs to snatch up her sunblade hilt off the ground, but doing so with a ghost bearing down on you is no good. And so we're going to have to defy danger before we can hack and slash. So defying danger based on dexterity, this is +1. 9 + 1 is 10. She successfully snatches up the blade and then closes the distance to the ghost, intent on destroying it with a +2. That is 10 plus. She deals her damage. Roll 1d10 + 1. 5. She doesn't destroy the ghost, but she does a good number on it. So she swings through the ghost using her sunblade. It's like a lightsaber. So she swings through her blade through the ghost like a lightsaber, and it cuts through like as if it was cutting through a sheet, and part of the ghost falls and falls to the ground, and it screeches and screams, and it tries to use a fear effect on the group. So everybody gets to roll 2d6 here, except for the miners, who are going to just scatter and panic. Christina gets +2 to this, so that's an 8. I'm sorry, not Christina, Octavia. Christina fails. Christina drops her dagger and her sword and bolts off into the night, further into the mines here, as well as the miners themselves. How many miners were trapped? Let's roll a d6 and find out. 4. 4 miners were trapped, and they've all scattered. So now I'm going to have to collect 4 miners before we continue here. Christina survives the fear effect and closes the distance for another hack and slash. 8 + 2 is 10 plus. Deals her damage again. 1d10 + 1. 10 damage. That's definitely enough to destroy the ghost. So she comes in with her lightsaber, with her sunblade, and just tears this ghost to shreds. And the ghost screams in pain and agony as it's dispersed. The ghost is no more. So now Christina... Why do I keep calling Octavia Christina? So now Octavia is left alone because everybody else failed against that will save, that fear effect. And everybody bolted into the night. Octavia is left having to explore the dungeon on her own in hopes of finding her friends and the people she's here to rescue. Okay, we are going to find out whether or not any of the miners went down this tunnel right here that we have yet to explore. So as Octavia delves deeper into the dungeon, she finds 5 is a common and a discovery. What common area is it that she finds? A 10. Open up my notes. A 10 is a chamber. Now, we've found our goal here, so I'm going to say that these areas are starting to close off and not have more exits. A 10 is a common with a discovery. What is my discovery? A 10 is a find. What is the find? 9. A scroll or book. So Octavia comes into this chamber here, and are there any miners in this chamber? I'm gonna call it 50-50 because I don't know what kind of odds I'm looking at otherwise. I think that is an extreme yes. An extreme yes means that we find 2 of our 4 miners in this chamber. They had bolted down and they're cowering in the corner, and Octavia is going to try and soothe them and calm them down. If she cannot calm them down, she's going to have to knock them out. So let's find out whether or not she gets +2 to this roll. 5 + 2 is 7. She can soothe one, but not the other. And so she calms one down And together, she and this other miner try and calm the second miner down, but the miner just won't listen to reason. He's too panicked. He's freaking out. And so she'll take the butt of her sword and kind of thunk him on the head and slug him over her shoulder. And on her way out, she notices on her way out a book on the ground, a book of Moen rituals. Let's say, is it a book of is it a book that belongs to the cult? I'm gonna call this likely. 35. Yes, it is a book that belongs to the cult. And so it's like a tome of worship rituals and stuff, and that'll come in handy. So she puts that in her backpack. That'll come in handy with hunting the cult. And so we're going to progress down the tunnel. And does she find any cultists why do I keep calling them cultists? They're miners. Does she find any of the panicked miners in the next chamber? 50-50. 96 is an extreme no. She finds none. I'm going to say she finds none on the obvious path. So she's going to, the first thing she's going to do is she's going to escort the 2 miners that she's got and bring them out the front gates of the mines themselves, way up here. And then she's going to explore the new areas of the dungeon that we haven't checked. And I'll say, if for whatever reason we can't find all 4 miners, then the other miners that ran out. Because that's the only way to explain that. So we're going to come all the way back to this place where she cut down the altar and check the alternate path that was not explored. So what does she find? A 1. An empty common area. What kind of common area is it? A 4. A 3-way intersection. And we have decided that we are actually finding dead ends as we go. So does she find any miners in this 3-way intersection? 50-50. 92. No, she does not. Is that an extreme no? It was 50-50. No, 94 is an extreme no. Where? How many places do we have left? Oh, we have this place. So she explores the next. She backtracks further through the dungeon. She finds a 12, which I think is a unique and a discovery. Her discovery is a 3, which is dressing. And a 10, a breeze, a wind, or a smell. The smell of frozen ice drifting up this hallway, coming from a unique chamber. Which unique chamber? There's only one left, and that's the infinite pit. And so we're going to, I hope we don't find any miners here. That's going to be, that's going to be a problem. We'll connect these here. So Octavia, as she explores this segment of the dungeon, she comes in and kind of like inhales. And I just totally brain farted. What was I doing? Oh, and she holds out her torch out in front of her, and this particular chamber, in the center of the chamber, is a pit, and the pit just goes so far down that the torchlight can't reach the bottom. And so she picks up a rock from the ground next to her and tosses it into the pit, and never hears it hit the ground. Are there miners in this chamber? 50-50. 99, extreme no. Is there evidence of the miners having run into the pit? 6, extreme yes. Okay, so we'll say we've rescued 2 of the miners, and the other 2 ran into this pit and fell to their deaths. As Octavia notices the scuff marks of them running in like the pickaxes as they tried to catch themselves, kind of stuck into the sides of the hole. And she kind of looks down, and her shoulders slump, and she sighs. And that accounts for all 4 miners, but not for Christina. There's only one place left to look for Christina, and that is this place here that we have already determined is the frozen tunnels. And so Octavia will take her torch and head into the frozen tunnels in search of Christina. And what does she find? A 10 is a unique and a danger, but we've already got all our uniques, so it's got to be a common and a danger. What common? Oop, that's not the right thing. What common is it? A 3. Three-way intersection. Do I find Christina in these tunnels? 50-50. A 58 on it would not be 50-50 except for on Chaos rank 6. The Chaos factor is 6, so 65 and lower is yes on a 50-50. So we do in fact find Christina kind of shaken, and Octavia is going to aid Christina in trying to shake this fear effect. An 8 plus 2 is 10 plus, which means that Christina gets what is Christina's charisma? What is Christina's charisma? -1, +1. So this is just an even roll. An 8 plus. So in her panic, she dropped her backpack and no longer has any of her things except for her weapons, which Octavia picked up way back when Christina dropped them and ran at the very beginning of this rescue mission here. And so the two of them can retreat and make our way to the front gate. Octavia is still cursed by Moen, so she's still pale, she's still sick, she's wounded, she's kind of a little depressed that she lost those 2 miners down the pit, but there's nothing she could do about that. She's collected Christina, and the two of them can make it to the front gates of the mines just fine. And that is where we are going to call this episode. Thank you so much for watching, YouTube. I will be right back after these messages. Don't touch that dial.